I have to say, this is quite an exciting moment. This is the start of the Midson project, and I am setting off on my first trip. I think I've mentioned already, there's going to be a whole variety of different shows within the sort of podcast theme. So a debate show, I'm going to talk to people behind the scenes as well and take you behind the scenes to try and understand some of the stories that are going on behind the social media and behind the headlines. Because it's only by talking to these people, by actually giving them a chance to actually speak and then question them rather than just interrupt them and tell them they're bad and evil, that you're actually going to find any answers at all. The government in the UK is run by the Conservative Party. It's not exactly going through the best time. They've got a Prime Minister who didn't deliver Brexit. They've got a leadership contest which is going on right in the middle of this Brexit process. There's also a big question of how do they view it themselves? I'm no longer working in politics or media, so I'm completely free to ask the questions that I want to. Okay, so this is exactly the problem. Look, this paper here. Here we go. Look at the headline. Gove goads Boris. What does it say here? The Environment Secretary came out fighting amid revelations of his past cocaine use, vowing to take on the battle with Labour if made PM. He said he would not hide in his bunker as gaffe-prone Boris Johnson has been accused of doing. Nothing whatsoever to do with the facts or what these people might be able to do for us as a country or us as individuals. It's just all personality politics. Don't get me wrong, it's not I blame the newspapers for doing that. It's just the way that politics and mass politics has become. So it's not their fault. They're a commercial organisation. Really pleased to be joined by Nabil and Luke tonight, who are from Conservative Progress, which is an organisation which works with the grassroots of Conservatives. When I look at social media, when I look at the media, I don't hear this message. All I hear is that the Conservatives are the nasty party. Why can't you get your message across and the left can?
I think Labour have definitely been a lot more effective there. I mean, it's not especially hard to understand when you look at their support base. They have a lot of people in the creative industries. They're a younger voter base as well. I think that's one area where we miss David Cameron actually, because I think one thing, and I've got my criticisms of David Cameron on some things, but he was undoubtedly a master of sound bites and explaining things in very simple terms that people could understand. I think that's maybe one thing that we've lost under Theresa May. I think the simplest way of explaining not having a huge deficit is saying, why should your kids pay for your consumption now? I think we're paying the equivalent to the school's budget on servicing our debt.
Exactly.
So that essentially we could fund schools again if we didn't have this national debt.
I think people have always campaigned to people's hearts, and Conservatives campaign to people's minds.
It doesn't work anymore. That's the problem.
This is the problem. I mean, the way we do politics is changing.
Yes.
The era of big speeches and leaflets through letterboxes is going.
It's gone.
We now live in we now have to compete against thousands and thousands of megabytes worth of other data going in and out of people's heads every day, and we can't just rely on the old habits anymore, and we can't rely on our old vote to get us through elections anymore.
Let me ask you a bit of almost a philosophical question here. Do you think the Conservative Party are being blamed for having a democratic referendum?
From people who voted Remain, I think there's some palpable anger that the referendum even happened in the first place, but I don't know, I think there's some airbrushing of history there. So I was actually at the party conference where Mark Reckless had resigned from the Conservative Party to go to UKIP just prior to that. UKIP were polling incredibly
25%.
well. Yeah. So it's revisionist to say, well, David Cameron just did it for the hell of it. The reality is actually that Nigel Farage would have been on course to, 25% is what the Liberal Democrats got when they formed a coalition with the Conservatives. So what we're talking about is Nigel Farage and UKIP could have become key players in Parliament. At the end of the day, 52% of the population voted to leave. That's 52% of people that wanted Brexit. The idea that you could just perpetually go on and ignore those people, it's bizarre.
These issues cut deep. The fact is, this country is deeply divided about Europe. It has been for many years, and it still is. And this referendum, perhaps in part, it really exacerbated that divide. But the fact that UKIP were polling anywhere near the figures we were talking about earlier suggests that this was where it was always going to end up.
Another one on social media you often see is that if we just stopped all this, gave up on Brexit, everything would be better and we could carry on normally. By your reaction, you don't agree with that?
It's just patently absurd, isn't it? The idea that Nigel Farage is just going to turn around and say, well, that's that then. off okay to a merry retirement, and all his supporters.
Look at the difference between the Brexit Party and Change UK. Two parties formed within a few weeks of one another, one with 11 sitting MPs, one with next to nothing. And look at the difference in their fortunes. And what that tells me is one thing, it doesn't come down to Nigel Farage's skills as a politician. And if we as a Conservative Party can't coalesce around a policy and actually get this done, then to be totally honest, I don't think we deserve to govern.
So this ties in quite nicely with this event you've got coming up this week. Why are you having it? Why are you having this event? Why are you bringing so many people together?
Well, it goes back to why we set up Conservative Progress in the first place, which is we saw this massive gap between the party's grassroots and its activists and the parliamentary party, and we saw the need for an organisation which bridges that gap, which tries to re-enfranchise and reconnect the grassroots, but which also, with one eye on the future, actually invests in our members, trains activists, upskills activists. And we try.
What do you hope that people are going to go away with, though? Because you can always say with these with rallies and with events, it's like, well, we just hope they hear. But there's got to be something a bit bigger than just hearing from these people.
No, for sure. For us, it's about redefining who we are and what we stand for. So if I could ask our members to take one thing away from this conference, it's confidence that we as a Conservative Party have a vibrant, strong, fantastic future ahead of us. I mean, let's not forget, the leadership election will be wrapped up within about 5-6 weeks. Soon we will have a new leader, and everybody in the party, regardless of where you stand, will unite behind this person.
Do you think they will?
Yes, I think they will. I think we have to be mindful of the fact that there is more which unites us as Conservatives than divides us. We may disagree on Brexit now. There will come a time in the very near future where the Brexit debate is put to bed, and the narrative changes back to how do we build a safe, secure, prosperous country. We can't face a general election without delivering Brexit. We have to deliver on the mandate the public gave us. And I think it's in our parties, not even just our best interest, I think our survival depends on our ability to rally around our next leader and push through their vision of Brexit.
I just want to finish off by asking about the future of the Conservative Party. Demographically, it can't be argued that the Conservative Party has got an older membership than the Labour Party or the left. Something's got to change for the future because the Conservative Party is not attracting those new members in the same way that the left is. So what can you do to keep conservatism going? What can you do to fight against all this negativity that's being thrown at the Conservative Party? And what can be those policies for the future that are going to appeal to that next generation?
I think I'm going to start by actually challenging something you said, which is that we have an older membership. I think that's another one of these common misconceptions which the Labour Party peddles. I used to be chairman of the Young Conservatives in London. Luke was as well, actually. We've worked with Young Conservatives. We continue to. We have a vibrant Young Conservative membership. Where I live right now in Salisbury, we recently set up a Young Conservatives branch. We have, dozens of young people trying to get involved. But I think you are right about our offering for future generations. I think whatever policy platform we put forward has to have that in mind. I think it comes down to a handful of key policies. One is housing. The number one issue most young people face is buying their first home. We have to be the party which unashamedly owns the idea of home ownership. I don't think we're there yet. The other thing I fundamentally believe is that we have to build a country which thinks for the future. And that comes back to some of the things I was saying earlier about building a green economy, about investing in a carbon neutral future, about green technology, about being a country which doesn't just do the minimum, about being a country where we're mindful of what the world around us is going to look in 60 years. And whether it's the business we conduct domestically or whether it's how we conduct our business abroad, we have to keep that at the heart of how we're thinking. And with that long-term plan, I think we can be successful. I think we can attract a new generation of people on side.